Hitler joined the DAP, or German Workers' Party, in 1919 and rose to the position of Chief of Propaganda. In this position he came up with such identifiable Nazi tropes such as the salute, uniform and use of the swastika. The current leader of the party, Drexler, tried to get rid of Hitler, but Hitler used his influence to embarrass him and his peers, forcing Drexler to resign, allowing Hitler to become the Führer. They started to leave their mark through their first newspaper called The People's Observer in 1921. The same year, armed guards used for thuggery and violence were set up by Ernest Röhm. Hitler managed to win the backing and support of influential right-wingers, such as Hermann Göring and Julius Streicher. Hitler then attempted a Nazi uprising called the Munich Beer Hall Putsch in 1923. However, it failed for a multitude of reasons, such as a lack of planning and an overestimation of support. Hitler was thus arrested for treason, but managed to use his trial for propaganda, and gained the subsequent respect from right-wing nationalists for his courage. There are four main ideological factors that make up the Nazi ideology. The first is that the master race is the Aryan race, and all others were to be discriminated against. The second was severe anti-Semitism. The third was anti-democratic beliefs. And the fourth was nationalism, which was the belief in bettering one's own country despite the impact or consequences on other nations. During Hitler's time in prison, he realised that the Nazi Party needed to be put into power democratically and not through illegal means. When Hitler got out, the only real opposition his leadership in the party faced was Gregor Strasser, who was one that Hitler managed to contain. The Nazis developed into a party with a clear structure, with a regional leader or Gauleiter in every region or Gau. There were 35 of them in total, all with Hitler as their Führer. The SS was created as a group of elite black-shirted guards to do all the Führer's bidding. They started capturing the minds of the public through their organisations such as the Hitler's Youth, Nazi Teachers Association, Union of Lawyers, and Order of German Women. By the elections of May 1928, the Nazi Party was an efficient political machine, with membership having increased fourfold since 1925, and it allowed them to gain 12 seats in the Reichstag. The Nazi Party went from 2.6% in 1928 to the second largest party at 18.3% with 107 seats. They managed this by targeting the middle-class parties, thus destroying their opposition's votes. The Nazi Party then in 1932 became the largest party with 230 seats and 37.3% of the vote, finally giving Hitler the influence he needed. Nazis made extensive gains from parties that had a middle-class or Protestant identity. Meanwhile, Catholicism and Communists withstood the Nazis' gains. The Nazis mustered support in rural regions, with the peasantry voting but not joining, and also gaining support in Protestant places. They performed weaker in Catholic areas and industrialised major areas. For example, in Bavaria, where Nazis were founded, there was a low vote due to Catholics being prominent. The Nazis went on an aggressive political campaign, using things such as Mein Kampf, posters and leaflets, large rallies compelling the crowd to become emotional, blaming the Weimar or the so-called November criminals, and finally employing violence, as shown in July of 1932, where there were 461 riots in Prussia alone. These methods were clearly effective in building support, as later shown in 1933. The current Chancellor, Franz von Papen, had been removed by a vote of no confidence. However, in another Reichstag election, the Nazi vote fell to 33.1% and to only 196 seats. Schleicher was appointed Chancellor, but failed to get the support of the left. Hitler spoke with Papen, and they decided that they should form a right-wing coalition with Hitler as Chancellor and Papen as Vice-Chancellor. Hindenburg was convinced by Papen, and so he withdrew his support for Schleicher, and on the 30th of January 1933, the coalition with Hitler as Chancellor of Germany was formed. It seems clear that the Nazi dictatorship was inevitable, as the German people couldn't stay on board with democratic ways and thus reverted to a dictatorship like they had before the Weimar with the Kaiser. This was shown a year before Hitler's rise to Chancellor, as only 39.5% of the German voters had voted for democracy, while 51.6% voted for anti-democratic parties, such as the KPD and Nazi Party. This showed that the German people as a whole rejected democracy and left the dictatorship therefore inevitable.
One, two, three, four, five. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride to the liquor store around the corner.